All right, welcome back. So I have left off exactly where I ended with showing you how to do a test case setup in Playground. So if you haven't seen that video, definitely read it or do it to get this set up. So basically what I've done is I have made Playground play nicely with XC test. So here I have my basic setup that I did. I have a custom Playground test observer, and then I have a test runner that runs my tests, which is located here. So this is the structure that it's calling to actually run my tests. All right, so the first thing that I want to say straight off is if you're going to do this with something other than my FizzBuzz test here, that's fine. Name your class what the class you're planning on testing might be. Whether it might be game logic, so it would be game logic tests, or if it's like, I don't know, whatever the name of your class is, you want to put that name of that class you're testing and then just add tests to it. It just makes it clear and, for you to find things and to realize, what's failing or whatnot. And it's cleaner. It's just cleaner. Trust me. All right. So the first thing I need to do is I need to create a class to actually test. Because, right now, the only thing I have is test, but no class to actually test anything with. So the first thing you need to do is we need to go back into sources and we need to create a new file. Now this file, once you're done with it, you can literally copy and paste it into your project like that. So let's go ahead and just set it up. It's going to be my FizzBuzz class. It's basically logic. All right, and then I'm going to keep import foundation just to have it there. So let's go ahead and name my class FizzBuzz, of course. And that's it. It's just going to be a regular old class. All right, I'm going to save it. All right, so like I had mentioned before with Playground, I don't know how to get around this, but you do have to put public in front of class to have it recognize that it's there to use. Otherwise, it's going to not even know it's there. And then when you do transfer this over, when you copy and paste it into your project, just delete all the public tags. And that's basically how you get this thing to work. Another thing I need to do is I need to do public init as well, just to initialize it. So like I said, Playground doesn't play nice with tests, but it is helpful once you get this up just right. Okay, so that is the basic setup. So I've been practicing a lot with Agile at work, and so I found this wonderful website that has a few katas to actually practice on. So I'm going to do my example on FizzBuzz kata. It's a counting and number substitution game aimed at teaching children division. So basically we have some tests here. So these are things that the user will need to do. So the first feature is basic FizzBuzz scoring. Rundown of the game, and certain things that my program has to do is it has to fulfill all these test cases. So if the number is 1, the result is 1. If the number is 2, the result is 2. And this is my user story, which says, as a game designer, I want a normal number to return that number so that the game can be scored according to the rules. And then, given that I've started the game, when I enter a number, then a result is returned. That's basically that. And then this is the number, and this should be the result. And then it gets a little bit more complicated the further along you go. So, like for example, return Buzz, we have number 5 is test, the result should be Buzz. If 20 is test, it should be Buzz. If it's 3, it's Fizz. If it's 9, it's Fizz. If it's 123, it's Fizz. So I'm going to go through this, build my tests based off of the user stories, and then test my code against the test cases here. So it's pretty fun, pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and get started. Now there's more than just this one feature. I'm just going to do the first feature, but there's actually 2 others. So feel free to keep going further, because the further along you go, the more you start adding variations and features, the more tests you have to create. to make sure that your code actually does this. Now, you're saying, well, why don't I just jump in and just create the code? Well, yeah, you can do that. But if you come across a huge bug, then you're going to be pretty much screwed. So I'm just putting it out there. So what I'm going to do, what I like to do, and this is just my flow. I like to have my tests on one side and then my class on the other. So I'm going to go back here to Playground, have my Playground where my tests are. And then let's make this a little bit wider because I'm doing this on my laptop. So, and then I'm going to go to sources and then have my class on this side. So tests on this side, class on this side. And then I'm going to scooch that over as far as I possibly can. All right, so let's get started. All right, and I won't use setup and teardown, but I do like to keep it in my tests just to have it there in case I need it. Which is nice to do. So I'm actually going to move it down further. Just flip-flop it. Actually, I think I'm going to move, sorry, I'm going to move the setup up. I like the tear down below and the setup above. Okay, so we're good here. All right, let's remove these two tests, or temporary tests, and then let's create a function. So if we go back to the very first user story, basically we have to submit a number and it has to return a number. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a test for that. So function test submit number should return number. Okay, you're probably wondering why is my method name so long. It is so long to be descriptive because I will never rewrite that name of this method ever again once I type it out. It's just there for me to read. So doing tests is kind of like you do two things at once. You're trying to develop your code, but then you're also automatically creating documentation for that code, which is pretty awesome, especially if you have like confusing classes or classes that you don't plan on touching hardly ever. So if you ever have to go back, like say 6 or 7 months later, you don't have to just like look at the class and say, okay, what did I do? How's this supposed to work? I'm not sure how that's supposed to work. Whereas if you had a test for it, you'd be like, oh, okay, it does this because this test is testing that, and the other. Okay, so now what we should do here is, so it has to submit a number. So then I need a variable, obviously. So var number equals, I don't know, 3. Now it's going to give me issues because one, I'm not using it. Okay, so I could do that. That's not going to work. Okay, let's back up. So first of all, I need to call this class. Sorry. So I'm going to do var system in test, or system under test. So SUT is system under test. And I'm going to call my FizzBuzz class and initialize it. That's the first thing I need to do. Okay, I need to say, hey, I need to get my class over here. Then I say, okay, well, what do I need to do is I need to set some variable in FizzBuzz to a number so that I can return a number. So I'm going to say SUT number equals 3. I should get a huge error. Well, yeah, and this is the error. The value type of FizzBuzz has no member named number, which is true because I didn't type it yet. So that is my first failure, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to make this an integer. Save it. All right, and I get another error. This is saying return from initializer without initializing all stored properties. So my number here is a stored property. So now I'm going to actually use my init. So let's go ahead and move it down and let's initialize my number. So number is an integer. and then I need to call of itself. Okay, I should get no errors, which I don't. Okay, and I like to move my functions underneath my variables, but feel free to do whatever. To each his own. Whatever makes sense to you. This makes sense to me. So let's go ahead and save. All right, now it should work, but for some reason it's not. So sometimes it doesn't sync right. All right, it's saying missing argument. Of course it's missing an argument. So let's move this down here so that we don't have to worry about, actually, yeah, we do need to do an argument. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's set it to 3. Yes. So therefore we don't need this. All right, so then what we need to do is, the next thing we need to do is make sure that the system test actually returns a number. So what I need to do is do xc cert equal that SCT or system order test number returns a 3. Actually, I move this down here. Well, let's just set this number to 0 just to be weird. And let's do SCT system under test number equals 3. Let's move this back up here. Let's make this a let statement. See if there's any errors. I do get errors. It's wonderful. So number is inaccessible due to an internal protection level. So this is again what I was saying. It needs to be public to be accessed. So once I save that should go away. Okay, there it goes. It goes away. All right, so I made it go away, which is great. So I need to create a message here. So should return same number. Now, if we're going to return something, what I actually need to do is I need to have something do something. So if you have something to do something, you need a method. So I'm going to create a method. I'm going to use the public keyword here, and I'm going to say start game, because that's what the user story says. It says I've started the game. When I enter a number, then result is returned. So I'm going to do start game and should return something. And I'm going to have return 0. So we're going to do an integer. Well, let's do a string. String's better. So let's go ahead and do that. And so return blank. It should satisfy that issue. Okay. So if I do system under test start game, it's going to return a string, and that string should be a 3 because I submitted a 3. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay, my assert equal failed. Blank is not equal to 3 should return same number. And there's my message, should return same number. So let's go ahead and fix that. So we can do, what can we do? We can do string describing number. That would return it, right? So let's go ahead and run, see if that works. Okay, and that passed. Great. That is awesome. Okay, so we passed the first test. And I know it's not pretty, but it passed, so whatever. So as a game designer, I want multiple of 3 to return fizz so that the game can be scored according to the rules. Given I have started the game, when I enter a number, then result is returned. And that result should be any of these. Oh wait, I forgot to mention. So we can do multiple of these. So let's do 2 and 4. Actually, we can change this to 1. And we could just copy this and paste, and then just change these to 2, and then 4, 2, and 4, save, and then let's go ahead and run our test to see if this worked. Okay, and our test is perfect. So it's working the way that I want it to work, at least for this particular user case.
All right, so that's the end of part 1 of unit testing in Playground. If this video has helped you at all, definitely give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to be notified of when I upload a new video. And I hope that you will join me for part 2 of unit testing in Playground, where I complete the full first feature with all the tests. Till next time, code on.